All right, bud, so I took a picture of some muscles. I'm gonna kind of go through that in another little piece of the video, but I was gonna show you some exercises really quick. So usually the big thing is if that tendon hurts all the way up, it's typically the ECRB, which is that little guy that kind of comes down to that middle finger. So getting into there and sometimes strumming it, I should have grabbed the ball, using a tennis ball. There's actually a little joint there too, and so sometimes getting on that radius, or that radius, that long, little skinny bone, and mobilizing that can sometimes help. So sometimes you can hook your thumb in and play with helping that little joint move. That's one thing you can do, 15 or 20 of those little pumps. And then I like to use the back of my hand and come down and kind of do a little massage. But like I said, these are your flexors here, and I find those really tight. A lot of my guys, my fishermen, and you know, married to a motorhead. So this is all of your grip, and they kind of, when you grip and flex these like elongate, and they have to accommodate that. So like I said, usually stretching both, working into that. 30-second hold, 30-second hold. That's gonna be a little less aggressive than this. And I even like, let me see if I'm still, even like working into like loading and working on those wrist extensors there. Some people, this is enough of a stretch. You can just kind of work on some mobilizing there, but generally those are my go-to to start. We need some strength, so you can do a loop band, you can get a kettlebell. You can start with something where you're just working on controlling back and forth, where that muscle's not really working super hard. This is a way heavier weight. I don't know what you have access to. I like banded work because you can just hook it on your elbow and you can work on lifting up. And then really the big part is the control down. You can soft finger so you're not death grip. And I'd work up to 2 to 3 sets of 12 on that. You can also do a band where you're working on, once again, supination. And it's twisting, but then the controlled return is really what's good for that old kind of tendon injury. Likewise, you can go this way where you're twisting over and then controlling that back. Those usually don't bother people, so I kind of start with those. Kind of gripping and twisting. I don't know, like I said, what you have access to. We have these little, I call them, look like little Twizzlers. And let me show you. These you can buy on Amazon pretty cheap. Kind of wind it up and then control that return. Wind it up, control that return. If the extension bothers you, you can bring it closer. Wind it up, control the return. And likewise, this other arm is getting worked pretty well. So you can kind of do the same thing. Hold and isolate that one and then work on the opposite side. That's an option there. And then the other one I like doing if it's really irritated is just an isometric. So neutral wrist, and you're just firing 70-80% of your force for 45 seconds. And then you can go the opposite way too, working into flexion. So supination, pronation. You can also go ulnar and radial deviation. So grabbing a band and working into that side bend of that wrist. And then return. You can work towards that thumb. And these usually are a little less provocative and more tolerable. But I usually start with 8 to 12 and 2 to 3 sets and work up to kind of higher reps. The amount of work that you do and the amount of reps you do, you probably need more reps with it. The other thing you can do with this is kind of work through that forearm like that, or I have a lot of people that they just roll, and you can work into a little bit of self-release that way and work into getting that lateral arm. Sometimes the wrist's affected, like I said, sometimes that shoulder, so you can get a little tennis ball and stick it in that infraspinatus and the lats, as I find that a lot of my guitarists are kind of rotated in. Releasing the pecs can kind of help take pressure off of that, releasing the subscap. But stretching down, stretching up, and then working into Holding that weight down, pull it up, hold that weight down, pull it up, pull it towards your pinky, pull it towards your thumb, and then supination or pronation are the kind of the first three, well, that's more than three, first several movements, up, down, side, side, in, out, kind of 3 combo movements that I start with. So I'm going to take a picture and then I'll talk to you about the muscles just so you have an idea of where they're coming from. Bye. All right, so here is the ECRB. I don't know why, but that's the most common, and it comes down and attaches here. You have your little thumb muscles there too. So because it crosses the wrist and not necessarily the elbow, but this guy crosses the elbow, for whatever reason, that guy seems to be the most irritated little tendon. That's the one that I usually needle, so if you can work on it with some soft tissue work. Likewise, if you flip over to the inside of the hand, the palm, these are the ones on the inside that flex your wrist and forearm, but you also have finger flexors that live really deep too, and so they can add compression because they live really close. I was going to share with you this right below that is that little bone where that little joint lives. So if that joint gets stuck because those are kind of pulling it, that can create some pain too, and that was part of what I was showing you where you can kind of do some little wiggles. So I hope that makes sense. I'll stream this all together and give me a shout if it does or doesn't, and we'll troubleshoot some more. Bye.